One question I get asked a lot is, when can I sleep train my baby? I think 4 or 5 years ago, a pediatric group in Manhattan got a lot of press for advocating a sleep training approach where they were taking babies that were 6 to 8 weeks of age and just advocating for them to cry it out. As far as I can tell, this was not based on any evidence whatsoever in terms of how effective it was or how safe it was. The fact is, sleep training is safe, but for babies and parents, if you are going to spend the time and energy and a little bit of heartbreak that it takes to sleep train your child, I want you to do it when I know you're going to be successful. The first several months of life are a period of rapid development. One of the things we know about every baby in the first few months is that they wake up quite frequently to feed. They're just not neurologically mature enough to sleep for extended periods. However, after 3 months of age, we know that most babies, even poor sleepers, are getting the majority of their sleep at night. They are sleeping when it's dark at night, and they are awake much more during the day than at night. So when we sleep train an older baby, we are helping to reinforce their natural biologic predisposition and not trying to force a square peg into a round hole. So for me, 4 to 6 months of age is probably the sweet spot to start trying. Now, what does that mean? It doesn't have to be anything particularly complicated or involved. If you feel confident, your partner feels confident, you think your baby is ready, after 4 months of age, try putting her down to sleep, drowsy but awake. Prior to this, most parents are just rocking their baby to sleep, nursing their baby to sleep, feeding their baby to sleep. What you want to do is put your baby to bed still awake without totally soothing her to sleep and see how it goes. Some babies are, well, let's be real. All babies are going to fuss when this happens. But if your baby fusses for a few minutes when you leave the room and then dozes off, that's great. You're in a great position. However, if your baby cries hysterically the second you try to put her down, she's probably not ready yet. And I would say just wait a week or two and try again, because you have to listen to these cues that your baby is giving you. And in the meantime, what can you do? Let's say you've got a 2 or 3 month old and you're like anxious to start sleep training. Maybe it's a little bit early. I think one of the things you really want to do is work on dialing in your bedtime. So a good bedtime, it does not have to be this complex, involved process. In fact, I would encourage you to have a bedtime that one parent can do. Now, this may be a necessity if you have more than one child in the house or you're a single parent. However, especially for many first babies, and this was the case with my firstborn as well, bedtimes were an hour-long process where we would both bathe him, we would both dry him off, we would both get him in his pajamas and read his stories. That's great if you have the bandwidth to do it, but you shouldn't have to have a bedtime so involved that it takes 2 parents, a dog, a mailman, and an act of Congress to get it done every night. It's a recipe for burnout. I also think it's important that all adults be involved in this in the home. I can't tell you how often it is that a dad, it's always a dad, will say, I can't put my baby to sleep, only my wife can do it. This doesn't seem to happen in same-sex couples, in my experience, but it's usually the dad in these heteronormative roles. To which moms, I say, when COVID is over, go take a break and dad will figure this out. I would also take this time to check in with your pediatrician. Is your child growing well? I would also take this time to check in with your pediatrician about your sleep difficulties. Make sure that your child is feeding and growing. Make sure that there aren't medical issues which can be affecting your child's sleep. Lots of common medical problems in infancy can affect sleep, like eczema or acid reflux. So I encourage every parent before sleep training, just check in and make sure that everything is going great with your baby. I know this can feel overwhelming, but again, sleep training is safe. and you and your baby both deserve a good night of sleep. Finally, one last question I get asked is, can you miss the window for sleep training? And the answer is no. Look, I literally wrote a book called It's Never Too Late to Sleep Train. The low stress way to high quality sleep for babies, kids, and parents. So you know where I stand. Whether your child is 6 months or 6 years of age, there are behavioral techniques you can do to make your child sleep better and help yourself sleep better. They're not going to look the same for older kids and infants. They don't all have to involve a lot of crying, but there are things you can do. So I beg you, don't be afraid to take steps to help your baby and yourself sleep better. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. And thanks for watching.